Did you know that MongoDB has a Visual Studio Code plugin? You know, there's a ton of different ways to connect to MongoDB, whether it's an Atlas or you're locally hosting it. You can connect through the Shell, through Compass, through a web application, or just any programming language that we support. So many different ways. My personal favorite way to connect to MongoDB is using MongoDB's Visual Studio Code plugin. The reason why I love using the MongoDB Visual Studio Code plugin is that I'm working in Visual Studio Code most of the time anyways. It's the place I'm most comfortable with. It's got an integrated terminal, all my code's there. I can just if I'm working with data, I can just connect straight up to my database, get some stuff and play around with it, and then get right back to my application without having to switch a bunch of windows. It's just easy, right? The point is, you should be connecting any way your application or you are most comfortable with. And I'm gonna share some tips and tricks for you if you're jumping into MongoDB Visual Studio Code plugin for the first time. Boy, that is hard to say. Okay, so we're gonna be going through installing the MongoDB Visual Studio Code plugin. We're gonna go through connecting to your database, and then we'll play around with it a little bit. We're gonna make some CRUD operations. We're gonna run through our data, and yeah, let's have some fun. Let's check it out. If you're on Visual Studio Code, awesome. What you wanna first do is go to the plugin installation section. So you can do that a couple different ways. You want to open up the command palette. So you can either hit Control-Shift-P or Command-Shift-P if you're on Mac, and just open up, type in install extensions. I've already got this installed, but I will show you how to look it up. Just search for something like MongoDB, MongoDB for Visual Studio Code. There it is. There's a bunch of other ones out here. You can even click on it, make sure it's the right one. Yep. You can tell it's even, if you go to the repository here, brings us to the MongoDB JS repo, so it's the right one. Once it's installed, you will see a new icon here on the left side of your screen. This is where, so you can always quickly access it, especially if you're using that for a project you're working on. It's gonna make it super easy to look at your data, play around with it, and do what you need to do, right? So now we want to connect to our MongoDB database. We're gonna be connecting to a database on MongoDB Atlas. That's our database as a service in the cloud. It's by far the easiest way to connect to your MongoDB data. So if you're just playing around, this is a great option for you. Link in the description below if you wanna sign up. Again, free forever, no reason not to. So we need to connect to our database because it's a server running somewhere else, right? So what we want to do is get a connection string for wherever that database lives. So let's go to Atlas, where I actually have a little database set up for us. I have a little sample cluster with a sample data set that's ready to go for us that we can explore. So you're going to hit this connect button, and I'm going to use connect using MongoDB Compass, and I'm going to copy this connection string that MongoDB gives us. Then we can go back to our connection string here down on Visual Studio Code. You can go in the corner here and hit add to collection, connect, and we're gonna paste that in. Now, when you copy that, you have to put in the password for the user that you set up for accessing this database. I'm not gonna show you what that is because I don't want you messing with my data, but make sure you do that if you're connecting locally or following along at home. All right, cool. So it says we're connected. That was fast. And you can see all of that sample data in here. Damn. So actually, I should mention, if you have any problems connecting to MongoDB's through Atlas or using the Visual Studio Code plugin, the best way to get your questions answered is on the MongoDB community forums. That's at community.mongodb.com. I'll link in the description below, but check that out if you have any issues. I'd love to hear from you. Okay, so first of all, what can you do with this plugin? The first thing that's pretty obvious is once you connect, you can start navigating all the data in your database that user has access to. So let's look at some MFlix data, some MongoDB Flix data, and see all the movies in our database. So this is the movies database, and you can see all of the collections in there as well, including indexes on there. So you can see this has 24,000 documents. Holy cow. And you can even check out what each of those documents are. Pretty cool. So you can see each one individually. We're going to look at ways to look at aggregations of those in just a moment. But if you want to just look at some sample data, or if you're kind of testing things out, this is a great way to do that. You can also add and delete collections and databases for your database here. You can create a brand new connection, or you can do Up here, hit the new database name. I'm not gonna do that here, but you totally can. Okay, so we've looked at how to navigate your data. What we're gonna do next is explore our data using a playground. And I don't mean like the playground you played with as a child out in the country. No, or at your elementary school. Not a playground like that. This is a data playground. And if you wanna make any CRUD operations, that means create, read, update, or deletes to your MongoDB data, you have to do it through a playground. And you use the MongoDB query language, MQL, in order to play around with that data. For me, using the playgrounds is the easiest way to prototype queries, aggregations, whatever. I just play around with it here until I get it to work, and then I'll move it into my production code base. But I usually have a sample database I set up, sample data, maybe I'll seed it, and we can all set that up here. But the cool part about a playground is if you hit create new playground, it auto-generates a brand new playground for you and includes auto setup stuff. So what this does is it seeds a new database with some sales data. And I love this too. It's even like commented so you know what's going on too. But I use this usually as a base to kind of get me up and running. You can see here, what we're doing is we're connecting to a brand new database and we drop it if there's data in it already. Note, don't try to delete. This will delete all the data in the collection, so don't do this on production data or data you care about. But for the sake of just kind of playing around, this is gonna be totally fine. And then we're gonna insert some sample data here. We're just doing insert many. I think we have about 9 different data sets here, 8 or 9. And then we just run a query. We're gonna find based on a date and run some aggregations on there too. But you can read, update, delete, drop, whatever. There's a little play button up here in the upper right-hand corner. If we hit that, you can see that it is running and we can see the result of that aggregation pipeline. Pretty cool, right? So we can see even in here too, if we load up Atlas again, I'm gonna hit on collections and we should see the data we just created there. Yep. So we have a brand new MongoDB Visual Studio Code Playground database, and that sales collection has been created for us. And all 8 of those sales have been registered. The Playground is actually doing real live queries on a database in real time, which is amazing. So if you want to do or change or mutate or do any advanced aggregations on your data, that is the way to do it. Again, this is how I do it when I'm playing around, and it's a really easy way to like test something out before I move that into production code or test it, right? It's just like my first step for doing that. And it's so easy because it's already integrated into my workflow. It's already in Visual Studio Code. I don't have to go anywhere. It's already there. This plugin can also do some other cool stuff, including terraforming. So if you do production scaling and maintenance and auto scaling using Terraform, you could also manage that here in the Visual Studio Code plugin as well. Whenever I think of Terraform, I actually always think of like Minecraft. I don't know. It always conjures the thoughts of Minecraft for me, and whatever. If you want to try any of this out, go ahead, download the MongoDB Visual Studio Code plugin. If you have any other tips and tricks or feature requests that you want, let us know in the comments below or at community.mongodb.com. We'd love to hear more from you. And be sure to sign up for that free tier of MongoDB Atlas. My name's Joe Carlson. You can hit me up on Twitter at Joe Carlson and the number 1. I'd love to hear from you. Good luck, everyone. Bye.